Good day, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to have you in class this day. Today we are going to be looking at a topic titled System Analysis and Design. We are going to hit the ground running by looking at the objectives that we hope to achieve at the end of this lesson. So at the end of this lesson, the objectives that we hope to achieve is that number one, we should be able to explain the meaning of system analysis and design. We should be able to state the objectives of system analysis and design. Then we should also be able to explain the meaning of the system development life cycle. We should know what a model is, what is the meaning, and what are the uses of a model. Then we should be able to explain the different models that are in system development life cycle. So we go to the very first objective, the meaning of system analysis and design. Permit me to let you know that several definitions have been advanced when it comes to system analysis and design. But in this class, we are going to give a rundown of some of the definitions. So system analysis and design can be defined as the process of analyzing and designing information systems to meet specific business needs or requirements. It can also be defined as a structured approach that involves a set of methodologies and techniques to identify, define, design, and implement an information system. By way of summary, we can say that system analysis and design simply means identifying a present system, trying to get the lapses that are inherent in such system with a view to improving such system by developing another system that will help that organization meet its specific objectives. What are the objectives of system analysis and design? There are several objectives. There must be a particular reason why every organization wants to design a system. Number one of such objectives is to identify the requirements of the system. You should be able to know what is the present state of the system. Is it helping the organization to achieve its goals or not? Another objective is to improve the quality of service to customers. Are customers satisfied by the present system we have in place? If they are not satisfied, then there must be need to improve. Then another objective is to improve public relations. How are we relating with stakeholders when it comes to this present system that is in place in the organization? Then another objective is to improve efficiency and avoid delay. What are the downtimes of the company? How frequent do we have complaints from our customers? How long does it take for us to meet the needs or respond to the requests of our customers? So system analysis and design seeks to improve efficiencies and avoid delays. Don't forget that every organization seeks to ensure that its customers are satisfied, because it is the satisfaction of the customers that helps the organization to achieve other goals. So once the customers are satisfied, it then means the customers will always come to patronize the company. We move further to develop a feasible solution. What is the present state of things and how do we hope to achieve it? Is this system helping us to achieve what we need to achieve? If not, then we have to develop a new system to help us get a solution to the present challenges we are observing. Another objective is to optimize the system performance. Then to ensure system reliability and security. To what extent can we rely on the present system to help us achieve our goals? Another objective is to improve user experience. From there, we shall be moving to look at the system development life cycle. Don't forget that we have advanced that the system analysis and design is for you to identify what is on ground with a view to improving it or developing a new system to help you achieve it. So this development has to go through a life cycle. Because it has to go through a life cycle, so we are going to look at what is the meaning of the system development life cycle. System development life cycle is a framework for developing and implementing software or information system. It is that framework that has been put in place for you having analyzed the present system, the framework you have put in place to help you develop and implement another information system that you are going to put in place to replace the existing information system. And this system development life cycle comprises of different phases. Some of these phases include planning. You must have to plan. Planning is the very first phase of the system development life cycle. When the project is initiated and planning activities are performed, it will now help the organization to know what they want to achieve, what it will take them to achieve, and how they will go about it. So all these fall under the purview of planning. Another phase of that system development life cycle comprises of analysis. By analysis, we are asking ourselves, what are the requirements of the system that we have gathered? What are the feasibility? How do we help to achieve it. Then we move on to the next one, which is design. This is the actual phase of creating a detailed design of the system based on the requirements you have gathered from previous phases. It can include maybe development of a model, interface design, or maybe some technical specifications, depending on the requirement and what you want to do. Immediately after the design phase, the next phase is the implementation phase. What is expected in this phase is that that particular system that has been designed is being implemented. So in this implementation phase, the system is built according to the design created in that previous design phase. This implementation phase can involve coding, it can involve testing, it can involve integration, deployment of the system, depending on the approach that wants to be utilized. Immediately after the system has been implemented, the next phase should be the testing phase. You have to check what we have done. How is it going to function? Is it going to help us to achieve our goal? So in this testing phase, the system is tested to ensure that it meets the requirement and function as intended. Don't forget that the purpose of developing a new system is to ensure that you meet a deficiency that has been noticed or observed in the present system. So by the time you are testing this system, you are trying to cross-check, you are trying to see if this system is meeting the objectives as intended from the beginning. It can involve a lot of things. You can decide to go on unit testing, you can decide to go on acceptance testing, you can decide to go on system testing, depending on the approach. Of course, after testing, there may be need for maintenance. There may be need for enhancing the system, because in the testing phase, it is possible that you discover one or two lapses, one or two deficiencies in that testing phase, and immediately this is noticed, maintenance comes up, and that maintenance phase is an enhancement of the system over time. You try to enhance, to identify if there's any bugs, you add new features, you can make modifications to make sure that this new system is not only effective but efficient and is able to assist in achieving the objectives. So, having said that, we are now going to move into models of the system development lifecycle. But before we go into the models of system development lifecycle, we have to know what a model is. That takes us to the next phase. What is a model? A model is a simplified representation of a real-world system that is used to understand, communicate, and analyze the system. So a model is a miniature, kind of a representative of what you need to achieve, the steps, the process. It can be in graphical form, it can be in mathematical form, it can also be in narrative representation of a system, depending on the particular system you want to achieve. Having understood what a model is, we now have to look at what are the uses of a model. Models are used to help stakeholders to understand the system being developed, because you put it in different phases. They are also used to identify problems or areas for improvement. Models are used to evaluate potential solutions. Models can also be used to communicate with stakeholders. And more importantly, models are used to document the system design, to show how the design will be followed to achieve the objective. So that takes us to the different types of model. In the system development lifecycle, we have various models that have been advanced. So we shall now take a look at the various models in the system development lifecycle. One of such models is the waterfall model. We have the Agile model, we have the Spiral model, we have the V model, and we have the rapid application development model. So we start by looking at the waterfall model. The waterfall model is a software development model that follows a linear and sequential approach, where each phase of the development process must be completed before proceeding to the next one. A stage has to be completed before you go to the next stage of the development process. The waterfall model has its advantages and disadvantages. Let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of the waterfall model. Okay, some of the advantages of the waterfall model includes: it has a clear project scope, it is easy to understand, it is well suited for small projects, and it emphasizes documentation. Okay, so what are the disadvantages? Haven't seen the advantages. The disadvantages of the waterfall model include lack of flexibility, it is rigid. Then there's also limited feedback and testing. There is the higher risk of project failure because of its rigidity. Then it can also lead to delayed delivery because a particular phase has to be completed before another phase. So we go to the next model, which is the Agile model. What is the Agile model all about? The Agile model is a popular methodology for software development that emphasizes flexibility. It also emphasizes collaboration and iterative development. This model, it's an advancement of the waterfall model because it takes into cognizance the deficiency or the disadvantage of the rigidity of the waterfall model by ensuring flexibility. So we go to the advantage. Some of the advantages of the Agile model includes flexibility. The Agile model is developed to be flexible, allowing for changes to be made throughout the development process, unlike the waterfall model. Then collaboration. The Agile model encourages collaboration among team members and stakeholders, and this can help to improve communication and reduce misunderstandings. It also ensures that everyone is on the same page and working towards the same goal. Faster time to the market. This model is designed to deliver working software quickly because all stakeholders are involved. So in the long run, the software to be developed seems to get to the market on time. So we move to the next advantage, which is the improved quality. The Agile model helps to identify and address issues early in the development process because there are a lot of people involved. Communication is improved. There is flexibility. At the end of the day, issues or deficiencies are identified and addressed on time. It now leads to the development of a higher quality software. Despite these advantages, the Agile model is not without disadvantages. So we move to the disadvantage. Some of the disadvantages of the Agile model includes lack of predictability. The Agile model is less predictable than others. It relies on frequent changes and adaptation to meet evolving requirements. And because of these changes that can come up at each stages, it is not predictable. Then it requires skilled team members. Don't forget that one of the advantages we told you about is that it leads to improved quality of software. And for you to get that, you will require skilled team members, which happens to be a disadvantage. Disadvantage in the sense that getting these skilled members sometimes to work collaboratively and adapt quickly to changes may be difficult, especially if the team members are not familiar with this methodology. So they may end up struggling to adapt. So this becomes a disadvantage of the Agile model. Number 3 can be difficult to manage. The frequent changes you make in the Agile model can make it difficult to manage, particularly if the stakeholders are not familiar with this model. Then another disadvantage is it has limited documentation. The Agile model prioritizes working software over documentation. When this comes up, it becomes difficult to maintain and support the software in a long term, particularly if the team members are no longer there. So there is poor documentation, or the Agile model has limited documentation. This is also a major disadvantage of the Agile model. We move to the Spiral model. What is the Spiral model? This is a development methodology that combines iterative approach of the Agile model with the structure and controlled approach of the waterfall model. In other words, this is an advanced form of the combination of the waterfall model and the Agile model, and these are the advantages of the Spiral model. Number 1 advantage is risk management. The Spiral model is designed to manage risk by identifying and addressing them early in the development process. This, of course, can help to reduce the likelihood of cost errors or delays later on. We go to the next advantage of the Spiral model: flexibility. The Spiral model is flexible and allows for changes throughout the development process. What that means is simple: that the team members can adapt to changing requirements to meet users' needs as they arise. It focuses on quality. The Spiral model emphasizes testing and validation at each stage of development, and this, of course, can help improve the quality of the final product. Then it also increases customers' involvement. The Spiral model encourages customers' involvement and feedback at each stage of the development. You don't wait till the product is developed before they now start getting feedback, but rather once each stage is completed, the feedback of that stage is gotten from the customer, and this will help to enhance or ensure that the final software meet the user's need and expectation at the end. Of course, everything that has advantages also has disadvantages. The disadvantages of this particular model is that it can be complex. There's complexity. The spiral model is a complex methodology because it requires skilled team to implement effectively, and this one makes it difficult to manage than other simpler methodologies like the traditional one as the waterfall model. Then number two, it requires more time and resources than other methodologies because at each stage of the iteration it will involve extensive testing and validation, getting feedback from the customer before you proceed to other stages. Of course, this can be time consuming and it can also be expensive to implement. Then number three, it can be difficult to manage. The spiral model can be difficult to manage because if stakeholders are not familiar with it, it can lead to delay or miscommunication if not handled carefully. We have limited documentation. The spiral model, like the agile model, tends to also prioritize working software over documentation, and this can make it difficult to maintain and also support enhancement of that software in the long run, particularly if the team members that developed it have retired or dead. So we now go to the next model, which is the V model. What is the V model? This is the model of software development that emphasizes the importance of testing and validation throughout the development process. In other words, this is also standing on some of the advantages of the spiral model and the agile model to ensure that the objective of the system development is achieved. So what are the advantages of the V model? The advantages of the V model includes emphasis on testing and validation, which is also the strength of the spiral model. It emphasizes testing and validation at each stage of the development, and this will further lead to improvement in the quality of the product, and it also reduces the likelihood of errors and defects that may arise. Another advantage is that it has a structured approach. Because of this structured approach, it ensures that all requirements are met and all necessary tests completed. Then, clear documentation. Don't forget that the disadvantage of the spiral model and the agile model is limited documentation. So the V model is an improvement of these previous models by having an advantage of clear documentation. So the V model requires documentation at each stage of development, and this makes it easier to maintain and support even in the long run. Then it has the advantage of reduced rework. By reduced rework, which simply means that the likelihood of re-embarking on such project is reduced. Why? Because the V model emphasizes on testing and validation at each development process, and this helps to reduce the likelihood of the rework. Don't forget, the rework can also be costly in the long run. Despite these advantages, there are disadvantages of this model. Some of the disadvantages include lack of flexibility. The V model is rigid. It is a relatively rigid methodology that is not suitable for all projects or teams, particularly for those that require more flexibility or agility. So the V model seems to be a little more rigid. Then another disadvantage is that it has limited scope for iteration. The V model does not provide as much scope for iteration or change as other methodologies like the agile method, which can make it difficult to adapt to changing requirements or user needs. Another disadvantage is limited customer involvement. The V model does not place a strong emphasis on customers' involvement or feedback. This can lead to the final product not meeting the customer's needs or expectation, or the user's needs or expectation. Then it can be time consuming. The emphasis on testing and validation at each stage of the development can make the V model more time consuming than other methodologies, especially when the project seems to be a complex one. Having seen these disadvantages, we move to the next model, which is the rapid application development model. What is the rapid application development model? Always referred to as RAD for short. It is a software development methodology that emphasizes rapid prototyping and iterative development. By so doing, it is designed to deliver the software quickly with a focus on prototyping the iterative development, and this of course can be beneficial to the project because it ensures that tight deadlines are met on time. So what are the advantages of the RAD model? The very first advantage is speed. The RAD model delivers software development quickly compared to other models. Then it also emphasizes customers' involvement. The RAD model places a strong emphasis on customers' involvement and feedback, which also help to ensure that the final product meets their needs and expectations. Another advantage is that the RAD model is flexible and allows for changes to be made throughout the development process. This means that teams can adapt to changing requirements or users' needs as they arise. Another advantage is that it reduces cost. And why are we saying it reduces cost? Because it is based on iterative prototyping. It helps to reduce the overall cost of software development. So you don't have to start all over again because it's a kind of prototyping development. Then let's move to the disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Because everything that has advantages must surely have disadvantage. The very first disadvantage is it has limited scope for documentation. The RAD model prioritizes working software over documentation, which makes it difficult to maintain and support in the long run, particularly if the team members are no longer on ground. Then it has the risk of scope. What do we mean by the risk of scope creep? The emphasis on flexibility and customers development can lead to scope creep, where the project expands beyond its original scope. This of course can further lead to delay and cost overruns because the project may now expand beyond its original scope. Then number 3, limited testing. The emphasis on speed and rapid development can mean that testing is given less attention than it should be, leading to lower quality software and further lead to potential errors and defects that may be observed in the long run. Then another major disadvantage is that skilled team members are required. The RAD model requires a skilled team to implement effectively, particularly when it comes to rapid prototyping and iterative development. This can make it difficult to manage than other simpler methodologies like the waterfall model. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the class for today. Don't forget, if this is your first time coming to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. I would like to have you in my subsequent lectures so that you'll be a part, and you can also hit the notification bell in case I release further videos so that you get the notification. Don't forget to like this video. You can like this video, and also let me get your comments in the comment section so that I can improve and know areas to present tutorials. Thank you very much for giving me your rapt attention. See you in the next video.